Picture yourself on a vessel at sea in 1820. You've been out whaling for over a year, and it hasn't been an easy voyage. You were almost sunk in the first 2 days of the voyage, spent an agonising 5 weeks just to get around Cape Horn, dealt with depleted whaling grounds, and almost died in a fire on the Galapagos Islands. You have a year left in the voyage, but for once, things are looking up. You and your whaling buddies are finally chasing a group of sperm whales in the Pacific Ocean west of South America. One of your crewmates is repairing a boat on the deck of your mothership. All of a sudden, he sees a sperm whale heading straight for the port side of the ship. What happens next, and the events that unfolded afterwards, would eventually be the inspiration for the novel Moby Dick. This week on Cheeky Tales, we cover the epic voyage of the Essex. That's staying in. I don't care.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem with that. First go, boy. Congratulations.
Yeah, what a great first go at recording that. There definitely isn't a little bit at the end of the episode.
12 minutes, a little bit.
We're 17 minutes into recording now. Not that all of that was failed attempt, but yeah, it did take 2 attempts to get that out.
It's definitely not 10 o'clock at night.
So you said picture
yourself on a vessel at sea in 1820.
Yeah, I've got scurvy.
Yep, I do too. Let's start with saying whaling bad.
Yep.
And I do cover that a little bit. I cover the history of whaling and what happened to stop it. But yeah, this is the story that largely inspired Moby Dick.
Cool.
What?
In a previous episode, didn't I say something silly like picture yourself looking at a map?
Yes. Yeah, you did. Picture yourself looking at a map. Not just picture a map. Picture yourself looking at a map.
So don't look at the map. Just look at yourself looking at a map. So we should mention I'm Aaron doing this week's episode. John, you're listening in. I am the listener.
You are the listener and questioner. And Sean,
Joker
the giggling mess, is our producer. It's might be too late for Sean.
We've hit critical mass.
Oh no, I've hit the funnies.
He's got the afternoon silly.
I've got the evening sillies. Oh,
this might be a long one, boy.
You said it was going to be quick.
I know.
All right,
okay,
boy.
I'll compose.
Harpoon me with that story and
Good pun. Good pun. A brief history of whaling.
Whaling bad.
Whaling bad.
Wait, what's the line? Cheeky Tales says no to whaling.
Cheeky
No,
Tales
they
says,
say no thank you to whaling. That's what it is.
Cheeky Tales says, no thank you to whaling.
Legal or illegal?
That's like episode 4, I think that comes from.
I can't remember what it was from, but it was.
Cheeky Tales says, no thank you. Was it
to
no
whaling.
thank you to terrorism?
I can't
that was the
remember,
first
but
one.
it was.
you can go check this transcripts, Sean. Just
Shit, I hate checking this crap. Man, the filing cabinet is so big.
A brief history of whaling. Whaling dates thousands of years into the past, with Korean rock engravings showing whaling as early as 6000 BC.
Oh, thank you for that history and for it being brief. Onto the story.
Under the story, yeah.
The Basque people of France and Spain were the first to commercially hunt whales. The Basque.
Try Basque, please.
Basque. The Basque.
Blah.
They dominated the industry prior to the Industrial Revolution.
Blah,
This is
blah.
going to be such a
Did you
long
say
episode.
dominated?
I might have. Who knows? Yes. Let's get on with it. The Basque people of France and Spain were the first to commercially hunt whales, dominating the industry prior to the Industrial Revolution. Much of the world had strong whaling industries, with countries such as the Netherlands, Scotland, Argentina, Canada, Iceland, Russia, and even Australia having thriving industries into the 1900s. Whaling boomed through the Industrial Revolution, and as more and more of the world took to the high seas to stab a whale in the head, the international community started to take note of the fact that maybe this wouldn't be so good for the population of whales in the ocean.
Shocker.
I know, right? In 1948, the International Convention for the Regulation of Whaling was established, with the intent of providing proper conservation of whale stocks and thus making it possible for orderly development of the whaling industry. This is all thrilling stuff. The organisation put in place catch limits for member countries of the whaling industry. Sorry. Did I?
I don't understand how that's wrong.
The organisation, it makes sense, doesn't it? The organisation put in place catch limits for member countries trying to limit the overexploitation of the whale populations of the oceans.
Yep.
In the 1970s, the global community started to become anti-whaling, and through research efforts found that many species of whale were in danger of becoming extinct. All of this came to a head in 1982 when a moratorium on whaling was put in place, which still stands to this day, despite some fierce competition. A number of countries have opposed the moratorium and have continued to hunt whales. A number of countries?
Yes. I thought it was only one.
No, it is a number. And they continue to hunt and hate whales
they
despite
hate
being members of the convention.
They hate whales for sure, yep.
So talking about the catch limits, so one of the reasons why all of a sudden everyone was like, oh, we have to do something about this. The Soviet Union was reporting that they were catching 2,700 whales a year. They were actually catching 46,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, for decades. Yeah, so this...
How do we have whales?
I know. That's a lot of whales.
It's too many whales.
I would have thought 46,000 whales would just be... Wouldn't that lower the ocean height? Removing all those whales out of the ocean?
Wow. It just goes to show that when you think about...
Is that why the sea level's rising? Because we're not killing so many whales?
Back. Yeah. Come on. It just goes to show, like, when we talk about overfishing...
Who's going to get offended over climate change? Shut up.
When we talk about overfishing, like... It was bonkers how much of the ocean we were pulling out at that.
Yeah.
While today we mostly know whaling as that pretty horrific thing that Japan seems to love doing, we've heard it was a booming industry in the 1800s. While the whole world loved to hunt the majestic beasts, as is to be expected when oil is involved.
Probably with majestic beats happening at the same time.
I'm sure.
Hunting those beats.
Okay, I'm going to make sure that this whole sentence gets out so my joke lands.
Battlestar Galactica. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
What?
You know, the 3 Bs.
Identity theft is a crime, Jim. Millions of people suffer every year.
I thought you were ragging on Battlestar and I was going to fight you for it.
While the whole world loved to hunt the majestic beasts...
Incoming joke.
As is to be expected when oil is involved, the US were the most prolific, with some 640 odd ships in the industry, which was around 3 times more than existed in the rest of the world. Just US invading anything with oil. Joke.
He said there was a joke coming.
He said there was a joke.
All right, it didn't land. Fine. I'm not funny.
It didn't take off.
All right, fine. It crashed on the runway.
And then Christopher Lee tripped over his bomb.
Then Christopher Lee tripped over the bomb. Oh.
I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry for that poor joke attempt.
Deep cut.
Deep cut.
Deep cut.
Unusually, the meat is not the most important part of a whale, with many uses existing for the majority of the whale, including the bones being used for things such as fishing rods, corsets.
And something Aaron has plenty of.
Bone.
Blubber. Oh, sorry.
Oh. Oh.
Goody. Got him. Producer approves.
The bones are used for things such as fishing rod, corsets, hoop skirts, and umbrellas. This is in the olden days.
Oh, yeah. I forget that. Yeah, whalebone was like a very common structural
thing. Yeah.
The intestinal juices, or ambergris.
Oh, yes.
Used to make perfume.
Yep. I did know that.
And sperm oil from sperm whales being used for lamps and industrial lube. As you can imagine, there was a lot of industry. There was a lot of industry going on in the 1800s that needed some good lube. So demand was high for that whale goo.
I did know the ambergris because now instead of... Is it? No, I didn't know from that because I haven't seen that. Instead of now killing them...
I know. Yeah.
Instead of now killing them and gutting them
they make them spew, don't they?
Yeah, if you find whale vomit, you're rich because that is expensive.
Yeah, super expensive.
So get out there on your boats and go hunting whale vomit. Make some cash.
Yeah, start out a new industry.
Industry? It's because I just said industrial. So industry. You know what? It's like how I always say Canada because I always think Canadians.
Or like how my beautiful wife always says Bavarian.
What are those little hors d'oeuvres that people...
Don't. Canapes. Canapes. I know that one now.
For some of our friends.
Yes. Let's go get some tapas.
Tapas. You know, it's not funny to say that anymore because it's been so long that people don't remember it was in the IT crowd. So then you just sound like an idiot.
You sound like an idiot. Yeah, that's happening a lot in the barbershop at the moment.
Yeah.
is I'm quoting things and people just have no idea what I'm talking about. Someone didn't know steamed hams the other day.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Unacceptable.
All the Aurora Borealis jokes that I make.
Everyone should know Aurora Borealis.
I know you've explained it to me. I was just seeing if I could roll yours up, and I saw that.
And you did.
I see the look in both of your eyes. I went, "Whoa! I need to nip this in the bud very quickly."
That was a moment of pure rage of just like, what?
I had to nip that one in the bud very quickly.
That was the physical representation of the Metal Gear Solid alert noise.
Please stand by. Hang on.
Oh, my headphones are cutting in and out.
Please tell
Have
me.
you got them again?
Yeah, they're right. Just the left one is
it's
dying.
that-
It's an old cable. I'm
Oh,
guessing.
just wiggle the cable around.
I don't think I have it on this phone.
Like spin it around.
My cable don't wiggle.
It folds.
I don't have it on this phone. I did have that as a message tone.
Look it up. What is today's story all about, though?
Aaron doesn't know what that sound is.
Yes, I do.
Not as much as we do, but that's okay.
Yeah. I have played a Metal Gear. Whoa.
Whoa!
I have played a Metal Gear Solid. What is today's story all about, though? So, now that we know that whaling is thankfully a much smaller industry than it was in the 1800s, what was the Essex? And what was it? What?
How many whales are getting killed today per year?
A lot less.
Per year. Do you
I
have?
think it's like Japan, they kill about 20 or 30 a year.
That is a lot less than 46,000.
Japan's the only country that makes ships specifically for it still.
Okay.
So what was the Essex and what was it doing out there in the ocean?
Love goes out to the shepherd.
Sea shepherd.
Absolutely.
Sea shepherd on the seashore.
They spend every single dollar of their profits on funding their anti-whaling campaigns, as well as a lot of their other conservation activities.
You don't hear about it anymore.
No, because
They did their job.
No, Japan, they still whale, but they no longer whale in Australian waters.
yeah, Sea Shepherd can only go so far with the amount of funding they have for the what do they call it? It's not, they use a particular designation in the ship, but they've got the Bobo and the Steve Owen and something else. But they do a lot of work with other projects as well. It's actually fascinating if you want to look it up. For instance, seal clubbing. They would kill seals for fur.
Yep.
So Sea Shepherd spent a crap load of money going and researching how they could shave the seals without killing them, because they realized they couldn't stop the seal fur industry.
Yeah.
They're like, how can we make this better? It's not all just ramming whaling boats. They do a lot of good.
I actually didn't know anything about the whaling other than the whaling boats.
Yeah, because it is the most prolific thing. Anyway.
So what was the Essex and what was it doing out there in the ocean? That's the third time I've said that. Well, obviously it was a whaling ship. Thank you, boy.
Thank you. I'm listening.
It was built in 1799 in Nantucket, Massachusetts. I know, right?
Fun to say.
On the American eastern seaboard. The Essex was 26.7 meters long, or 87 feet 7 inches, 7.3 meters wide, or 24 feet.
How long is that in furlongs?
There was a mention of furlongs in this, and I didn't look it up. I didn't use it in this.
Damn it.
So how long was it again? Hang on, let me see if
what's
modern day calculator.
What's 26 meters in furlongs? I also need rods, chains, and how heavy it was in stone.
Furlongs is not in my converter.
Oh, what a shame. And it was 3.8 meters tall, or 12 feet 6 inches.
Or 3 chains.
With 5 whale boats.
It was 1.5 Christopher Lee's tall.
Sorry, how many hands is it?
America will use anything but the metric system.
I'm so sorry, I got the sillies.
There were 5 whale boats on it that could hide 6 men apiece, and it was actually quite small for a whaling vessel.
Why are they hiding?
Hold.
Oh, he did say hide. Did he say hide?
Okay, fact checker
Well,
says
they could hide in there too. What else are you going to do with ship?
I thought they were literally hiding. Like, do they have to hide so the whales don't see them? Like,
no. So the whale boats are almost like a life vessel, but they get dropped in the water. The men get in that, and then they chase the sperm whales around like that.
Yep.
By the time of our story in 1820, the ship was already 20 years old, but despite its age, was quite popular, having had a number of very profitable voyages in her time, leading to a reputation as a lucky ship. In fact, the captain and first mate on the fateful 1820 voyage had been on the previous voyage of the Essex and had been promoted to their positions due to its profitability. So,
Yep.
ship's got a good history.
does good, gets money.
Yes. The Essex would depart Nantucket on August 12th, 1819 for a 2.5-year whaling voyage. Captain George Pollard Jr. was one of the youngest men to ever command a whaling vessel, with his first mate, Owen Chase, just 23 years old as well.
So Owen Chase is out hunting whales.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Bit on the nose, isn't it? There would be 21 men on board when leaving Nantucket, heading first for Cape Horn to round South America and enter the Pacific Ocean. It wouldn't take long before trouble was struck, though, with a sudden squall, a big windy boy that lasts minutes, usually along with a storm, almost capsizing the vessel and causing some of the sails on the ship to be lost. 2 of the whaleboats were also destroyed, leaving just 3 available for use. Despite the damage, Captain Pollard would decide to carry on with the voyage, not stopping for repairs or to replace the destroyed whaleboats. It would take a further 5 weeks to reach Cape Horn, which was very slow. And with a troubling start and slow progress, the crew began to speak of the voyage being cursed with bad omens.
Oh, no.
And boy, was it. It was now January of 1820, but the crew would reportedly find the waters of the Pacific Ocean to be much more fun, with whales starting to show up all over the place.
Yep.
They would catch 8 sperm whales, making 250 barrels of oil, before moving to Peru, catching more whales, making a total of 550 barrels of whale oil so far.
That's a lot of barrels.
Yeah, there's a lot of oil.
What does 1 barrel hold? Do you know, like...
I don't know whether it was like a full 44-gallon barrel.
Yeah, okay.
I think it must have been like a much smaller barrel.
It's just a lot.
It's a lot regardless of the way you think about it.
That takes up a lot of room in the ship.
Yeah, yeah. And considering it's not like a massive ship.
And sure, how do you get oil out of a whale? It's not, I'm sure you don't have like a juicer.
I assume it's...
You don't just get like pieces of whale in a like a orange juice and oil comes out.
I mean, it probably is, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Because I assume it's in the fat.
This is not something I'm particularly interested in fact checking.
No.
This soon after dinner.
Again.
Sorry, all I'm thinking of with this story is the whale that washed up on the American beach and they decided to...
Yeah, they blew up.
Blew it up.
Oh, so good.
And didn't it crush a car?
Yes.
Like...
Multiple cars.
Kilometres away.
Again, whaling bad.
In the link tree. We'll post that video in the link tree if you want to...
Great video.
Also, a link to Sea Shepherd's website to make a donation or to buy some merch.
We will have a link to... Actually, we might just post Sea Shepherd.
Let's just post Sea Shepherd.
We'll do our weekly post and then later we'll do a Sea Shepherd post. Again, whaling bad. By September of 1820, the Essex had made it to Atacames in modern Ecuador. That is not how that's pronounced, I'm certain. Where one of the crew, a man named Henry DeWitt, would desert the Essex, reducing the crew to 20. This was pretty normal behaviour for a whaling crew.
What a wit. That's never mind.
What a detwit.
Yeah, what a detwit. Thank you.
This was pretty normal behaviour. That was pretty good. This was pretty normal behaviour for a whaling crew. However, it was frustrating for Captain Pollard, as with the 3 remaining vessels holding 6 men each, there would only be 2 men left on the Essex during a hunt, which was not enough to safely handle a vessel of that size. Despite the frustration it caused, considering what was to come for the Essex, you have to say, DeTwit made the right move.
DeWitt.
No, we've nicknamed him DeTwit.
He's DeTwit now.
Or maybe he is DeWitt, because Wit's smart.
DeWitty, yeah. Really great move not being on this boat.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
The Essex would find the hunting grounds off the coast of Ecuador to be sparsely populated with whales, and on hearing of a new hunting ground 4,500 kilometres away to the southwest, which was apparently full of whales ready for the stabbing, would decide... What?
I was going to say, they're off the west coast of South Africa.
South America.
South America? Okay.
Yep.
So 4,500 miles. Kilometres from there.
Yeah. So they're getting in towards like the Tahitian Islands.
Yeah, okay. I was just trying to picture where that is. Yep.
Yeah. So they're like 2/3 of the way between South America and Australia.
Yeah.
So they head for that area, hearing that it's good. It would be a long way from the shores for the men who were used to hunting in.
That'd be near the Humpback Highway, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Still a bit away from that.
Okay.
Because that's up the east coast of Australia.
Closer to Australia.
Yeah. So it'd be a long way from the shores for the men who were used to hunting alongside that South American shore.
Mm-hmm.
And there were rumours that we're cannibals on the islands in the South Pacific.
Ooh.
Despite the misgivings, the Essex would head towards the hunting ground, but first they had to make a stop in the Galapagos Islands for repairs and restocking.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps the moment that karma took note. The Essex would anchor off one of the Galapagos Islands on the 8th of October in 1820, with the aim of restocking the vessel for the hunt ahead and fixing a serious leak on the ship. With their downtime on the islands, the men would hunt and capture 360-odd Galapagos tortoises to supplement their food supplies on the voyage. 360 Galapagos tortoises.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And those are big boys.
Yeah. They're
Creatures that can live nearly 300 years.
Yeah. So, yeah, think about that.
Big. Yep.
So they got these tortoises, right? They got them onto the ship alive. So they're just letting them like wander around the
they're
deck.
just walking around. Yeah,
They're
right.
like wandering around the deck.
And they're
They've
huge.
and they got heaps of them under the deck as well. They thought these things could live for up to a year without food and water. And they can live a really long time without food and water.
Oh, they
but
can? Okay.
in
But
reality,
not a year.
they were starving them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have a very slow metabolism.
Yes. They found them to be very delicious and believed that they could live for up to a year without food or water, like I said. The majority would be held in the hold of the ship, and the plan had been to butcher and eat them as required throughout the voyage.
Well, meat don't spoil when it's alive.
Yes. So you think they've got a year left in the voyage. They were going to take these things all the way home.
And they come in their own bowls.
Wow.
Cheeky Tail says no thank you to murdering endangered
Oh,
Galapagos tortoises.
I'm not
Well, at this
saying
point, they weren't endangered.
they weren't endangered. They are afterwards.
They are now.
Yeah. They might be just after this voyage.
I'm not saying we're going to do it or we endorse it. I'm just saying, like, practically they come with their own bowl.
In addition to the tortoise theft and torture, one of the men would play a little prank on Charles Island.
Torture. Very good. Tortoise torture. Very good. Good wordplay.
So they decided it was time for this little prank. Really?
Frank, yep.
It was harmless. He just started a little fire.
On the ship.
On the island.
On
just
the
a little
island, okay.
fire trying to scare his mates. Just a harmless little prank between friends. Except for the fact that it was the dry season and it was windy. And so very quickly, the fire burned out of control and surrounded him and his mates.
Oh,
Yep. So now they're stuck on a burning island.
yep.
They had to jump through the flames to get out, barely making it off the island alive, right? So this island, the whole island, gone up. Like picture a big Pacific island, all in flames.
Mm-hmm. And now the tortoises are endangered.
Well, yeah.
The tortoises went from 250,000 Galapagos tortoises in the 16th century to less than
To
15,000.
360 on the ship.
To less than 15,000. Why does my mic sound weird? To less than 15,000 by 1970.
Humans suck is what you can say that. So yeah, these guys barely make it off the island alive. They get onto the ship and the captain's like, I swear vengeance.
Great action shot in a movie, though, jumping through the flames to escape.
Yeah, sure. Maybe if you're not a dick who set fire to an island, but so yeah, the captain's swearing punishment on whoever set the fire. So the guy that set the fire, he was like, I'm not going to tell anyone. So he didn't tell anyone until like after this voyage was over that he'd done this. The fire would continue burning
He
through
didn't
the
want to
night.
get
Whipped.
punishment.
Yeah.
Punishment. How did you say it? Punishment. I was going to leave that one for the comments, but I'll put it up now.
The fire would continue burning through the night and into the next day. And as the ship set sail, they would still be able to see the flames on the horizon after a full day of sailing away from it.
Just a navigational point. He just set the first ever sat-nav point.
It was an epic fire.
Yeah,
from
that
the sounds
sounds
of it.
that sounds huge.
One of the crew would return to the island many years later.
And it was still burning.
No, found that nothing had grown back. It was still just like a black wasteland. No grass, no ferns, no trees, nothing. Just black.
And is that when he wrote the song "We Didn't Start the Fire"?
Wow. No. So there was
It was always burning.
the Floriana Island tortoise and Floriana mockingbird are now near extinct because of this fire.
Yeah, right. It would have had to happen.
The crew would take the Essex on towards the hunting ground after the fire.
Some would say he was a Moby Dick.
Yeah, some would say that. Boo. All right, so they've got through the fire.
Literally.
They're unknowingly sailing right into a historically bad time.
Okay.
This section, this is where it gets juicy. Karma gets them. What do you think might happen to them?
Well, you said it at the start, didn't you? There was fire. There was
It's the whale time. Once in the hunting ground, they found it wasn't quite as overflowing with big blubbery boys as they had been told.
Big Aaron boys.
Oh, fuck you. It would be several days before they would find any whales. Tensions were mounting, with Captain Pollard and First Mate Chase especially shirty with each other.
Ooh.
On the morning of the 20th of November, the men spotted spouts, signalling it was time for a hunt. The 3 whaleboats were launched with 2 men remaining on the Essex. Chase's whaleboat would harpoon a whale, with the whale giving one back and smacking the boat so hard with its tail that the seam opened, forcing the boat to return to the Essex for repairs. One of the other whaleboats, the one with the captain on board, would harpoon a whale and get dragged off towards the horizon away from the Essex in a manoeuvre they call a Nantucket sleigh ride. Again, they had to release the whale and make back towards the Essex.
So these whales are now just cruising around with harpoons sticking out their sides.
So they've just been harpooned. He's like, all right, see ya. Go. And then they're on the back. Pretty funny if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that whale survived.
Well, you say that because my only experience with this is, I don't know if you can agree, Sean. We're going to bring it back to another video game.
Mm-hmm.
Assassin's Creed Black Flag. There is a mini game of whaling in that. And you're in like a very similar situation. You got to throw a harpoon and it takes you off and it drags you across. I don't know if anyone out there that's
I'm
played
surprised
that
they put whaling in that game.
it's historically accurate, I suppose.
Period piece.
Yep.
Chase would
You're not killing actual whales, so does it really matter?
Chase would begin repairing the whaleboat on the deck of the Essex and would be hammering in the nails on the canvas of the boat when he would notice a sperm whale acting in a peculiar manner. The bull, or male whale, was huge for a sperm whale at 85 feet in length, 26 meters. So just
3.5
than the boat.
3.5 furlongs.
He's worked out the furlongs.
That's
Is that what you've been doing the
I
whole
have
time?
no idea.
So just shorter than the boat.
Just short on the boat. The boat was
Massive.
26.7 meters. This whale is
Chonky
26.
boy.
This is a thick boy.
This is a chonky whale.
And it was laying motionless
God
on the
damn
surface of the water about 500 meters away or 550 yards from the ship.
Sussing them out.
What's Sean looking up?
A furlong.
Oh.
Giving them the old stink eye.
Just watching them.
Yep.
Just sitting there.
They do that.
Yeah.
Have you ever been whale watching?
Yeah.
They will
Come up and
cruise-
just watch you.
Yep, cruise up and like check you out.
Mm.
Very intelligent creatures.
While Chase watched, the whale would spout water, drop beneath the surface, and head towards the Essex, picking up speed and heading straight towards it.
Nice.
Before anyone could react, more than just a yell, the whale slammed headfirst into the hull, lifting it briefly from the water like a leaf before diving under the ship and surfacing on its starboard side.
Damn.
While Chase prepared to harpoon it, he realized the whale was very close to the rudder, and realizing that harpooning it might just piss it off a little bit, thought that it might be smart to just not do that and keep the rudder.
I think it's pretty pissed off just already. Like,
The whale would recover during Chase's hesitation and would begin thrashing around next to the Essex. In Chase's words, he was enveloped in the foam of the sea, and I could distinctly see him smite his jaws together, as if distracted with rage and fury. I turned around and saw him about 100 rods, 500 meters or 550 yards, directly ahead of us, coming down with twice his ordinary speed of around 24 knots, 44 k's an hour. And it appeared with tenfold fury and vengeance in his aspect. The surf flew in all directions about him with the continual violent thrashing of his tail, his head about half out of the water, and in that way he came upon us and again struck the ship.
nice. This is a badass whale.
This is a dope, badass whale. With this second blow, the whale would crush the bow of the ship,
Oh,
and with its damage done, it would pull itself out of the broken timber of the bow and swim away.
so he was in the ship.
Yeah, it broke through into the ship,
Nice.
pulls its head out, swims away, never seen again,
Spits out a chunk of timber.
and off it goes.
Off it goes.
See ya.
Just
The
flipping the bird off as he's cruising back on his back, just flipping the flippers.
Flipping tail.
Flipping flippers.
Yeah. The damage it had done would cause the Essex to take on water fast, with the men on the Essex now left
There's
quickly.
a whale-sized hole in the front of it. Oh, it takes on water fast. No, duh, boy.
The men on the Essex now left quickly attaching sails to the whaleboat that they had been working on and collecting as much of the supplies and navigational tools as they could.
Essex is going down.
Yeah, it's gone. So it sinks. They somehow, though, managed to get like as much of the navigational stuff and maps as they could off it.
Yep.
So now they're just in the whaleboats. Nobody's quite sure why the whale decided to attack. Sperm whales are usually peaceful creatures, much more likely to dive away from a perceived threat. Clearly, this whale was a bit different. Some believe the whale may have run into the ship by mistake the first time before attacking it, thinking it was another whale. Others believe it may have been provoked by the sound of the hammer, which the hit may have thought was another bull whale making a call.
Because it wouldn't necessarily just be the impact. It would have been the vibration traveling down through the hull and then out in through the water, much like their communication.
Yeah, so that's what people think. It may have been that. It may have hit it accidentally and they got
I just
pissed off.
think this whale's a badass and went, I know what you're here for.
Yeah.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah. And then, all right, I've fixed you. See ya.
Yeah.
All the men aboard the Essex would make it onto the whaleboats and would have some serious decisions to make. They were 1,900 kilometres or 1,200 miles.
Oh, that's right. They're not near the coastline. They're in the middle of...
Yeah.
Yep.
From nearest land. So they're like almost 2,000 k's away from any land whatsoever.
They're pretty much halfway in between Hawaii and Easter Island, about level with the very bottom of Mexico, the top of South America.
There you go.
If you drew a line around the Earth, that's where they were.
Yep.
But the men believed that the Marquise Islands, which were the nearest, had cannibals on there.
Ooh.
They would decide that the much more sensible option would be to make for South America, which, due to the winds being against them, would require a voyage of 6,400 kilometres or 4,000 miles. So more than triple the distance that they had to do if they just went to the Marquise Islands.
Yeah, right.
They would begin heading east with severe food and water rationing beginning immediately.
What about the tortoises? What happened to the tortoises?
Yeah, some of them made it onto the boats. The rest sank with the ship.
With the ship?
Yeah. They would begin heading east, severe food rationing. Most of the food was waterlogged with seawater, though, and while they would eat this first, it would increase their thirst.
Mm-hmm.
By the time they had finished eating all the contaminated food, they would be rinsing their mouths with seawater and going full Bear Grylls and drinking their own piss.
It's sterile and I like the taste.
As a quick side note, there were no cannibals in the Marquise Islands.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they could have just went there.
Yeah, and they apparently, according to people afterwards, if they'd just gone there, all 20 would have survived. Would have been no problem.
And they would have met with a culture who has the best hospitality in the world, like the nicest people. No, there's no one there at all.
The Marquise?
Yeah.
No, there's people there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just...
Yeah.
It's because they thought there was cannibals there and I'm making the joke that it was actually like...
Super nice people.
Super nice people.
The long...
You love it when you have to explain it.
Yeah, it's the best.
Mm.
The long attempt at survival. By December 20th, 1820, this is a month after the attack on the ship,
Yep.
the men were hours away from beginning to die of thirst.
Hours.
Yes. That might be drama.
Okay.
They're hours away from starting to be really
Dehydrate.
badly affected by it. They would spot land in the form of the uninhabited Henderson Island.
They could see are you going to tell me they could see a fire?
Oh, no. No, they saw Henderson Island,
Sure.
which was just a small coral atoll. They would find a small freshwater spring and would gorge themselves on not only the water there, but also the birds, crabs, eggs, and peppergrass of the island.
Oh,
Within,
these guys are just...
Yeah. They get there,
They're having
let's eat it.
Yeah, they're having smorgasbord of Pacific animals.
It would take just 1 week before they'd exhausted all the food sources on
Are
the
you
island.
serious?
Yeah.
Oh, man, there's probably not a lot of land
No.
mass, but still, 1 week.
Yeah.
Come
took
on,
them a
guys.
week.
Come on, I know you're out whaling and doing that kind of stuff, but
Having a whale of a time.
you've got to ration, people. Ration.
Yeah.
You had.
So now they've got to make the decision
Yep.
to get back into the boats and sail on.
Please tell me this whale shows up again and smashes the little whaling boats. I just
Oh, it's much worse. 3 men would decide to stay on the island, named William Wright, Seth Weeks, and Thomas Chappell.
William wrong.
Well, maybe. They would watch the men sail away, with not one of the 20
sail
survivors
away,
knowing
sail
what lay
away.
ahead of them. Who do you think survives? The guys on the boats or the guys on the island?
Well, from all your foreboding for boarding, I'm going to say the guys on the island survive.
Guess we'll find out.
They either turn to cannibalism and eat themselves, or
The whaleboats weren't designed for this kind of voyage,
no.
and so they began to need a ton of maintenance just to stay afloat. They would leak constantly, with the men needing to bail water also constantly. The men would regularly have to lean onto one side of the boat to lift the other out of the water so that another boat could sail alongside to nail wood back in. They would also continue to be plagued with storms and rough seas, and even reported that they could hear the sounds of whales following and harassing them in the night. So you'd just be like trying to sleep, and then you hear the like of a spout and like whale song. And
I guess they're not. They say they're harassing them. I guess they're just curious.
Yeah,
what's
they're just
going
hanging
on.
out.
They're just Was it from Finding Nemo? What are you doing? She's like, I can speak whale. Wait up.
The 3 remaining vessels were led by Captain Pollard in the first,
Yep.
first mate Chase in the second,
Yep.
and second mate Matthew Joy in the third.
Yep. Oh, no joy.
No. Matthew Joy was becoming weak and requested to stay on Pollard's boat until he died. He would die on January 10th of 1821, the first of the 20 men to perish from the Essex. Obed Hendricks would be given command of Joy's whaleboat.
I just realised who survives.
Okay.
DeWitt.
Yes. Good job. On the 11th of January, a squall would cause Chase's boat to separate from the others.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got
Yep.
Hendricks and Pollard's boat together.
Yep.
Chase is off somewhere else.
Yep.
The men on Chase's boat were fading fast, with hunger starting to take hold of all of them. On February 7th, Chase would recount the slow descent into madness that the hunger caused when describing the actions of one man on his whaleboat. He spoke incoherently about everything, calling loudly for a napkin and water, and then, lying stupidly and senselessly down in the boat again, would close his hollow eyes as if in death. He would then undergo the most horrid and frightful convulsions while dying the next morning.
Oh, jeez.
So now, you've got a dead crewmate on board. What do you do?
Toss him over the edge.
That's right, you straight up eat the dude,
Oh, yeah, there's the cannibalism.
despite the fear of cannibals you had earlier. So that's what they did. They stripped the flesh from his bones, took out his heart, sewed up the body, and committed him to the sea.
Ugh. I mean, couldn't you at least use him as bait and catch some fish?
Nope. I do find it ironic.
Oh, you got
that
no
they're
fishing material.
Let's not go to that island full of
Because
cannibals.
it's cannibals. And then they eat someone.
After the death of 2 others earlier on the boat, there were just 3 men left. At least they felt bad about it, with Chase later writing, "I have no language to paint the anguish of our souls in this dreadful dilemma."
I mean, you got to do what you got to do to survive, though, don't you? Like,
Yeah.
it's not great.
We cover the reaction to what they did later.
Okay.
Returning to Pollard.
So they
and
survive. Spoiler.
How do you know they survived?
You
I mean, we are telling the story. Someone had to survive.
Yep.
Returning to Pollard and Hendricks' boats, things were not much better. They had run out of food on the 21st of January, with 11 men remaining between the 2 boats. On the 20th, one of the men on Hendricks' boat would die, and the others decided that they needed to keep the body for food. Now, all 3 vessels had more cannibals than any of the islands they had avoided.
Shade Trump.
3 more men would die between then and the 28th of January. After the 3rd man died on the 28th, Hendricks' boat would separate from Pollard's due to the winds. There were only 3 men remaining on Hendricks' boat, and none of them would ever be seen again. A whaleboat was found washed up on Ducie Island to the east of Henderson Island, where the other 3 men had stayed ashore earlier, with 3 skeletons aboard.
Oh, so they've just done a huge circle
Pretty much.
and come back to...
Well, they died,
yeah.
became skeletons, and then floated around until they made land somewhere.
Yeah.
So the currents would have taken them back there.
Back to the island they left, yep.
Yeah. So it's safe. They never positively identified the skeletons, but it's safe to say it was Hendricks and the other 2.
That's a long time for them to be skeletons.
Mm.
Birds and stuff might have picked them clean.
Yeah. You invested in this, Sean?
Oh, yeah, very much so. I'm just doing my best to keep up with all the names. Yeah.
Back on Pollard's boat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the captain, Pollard. Yep. Things were not much better. They had run out of human to eat on the 1st of February.
It was just a skeleton.
The bones were still there. By February 6th, with nobody dead to gnaw on.
We're in February now.
Yeah.
Like we were just at the
Pollard's
start of January
boat
before.
didn't have any people on it yet. No one had died from Pollard's boat yet. It was Hendricks' boat.
No, Pollard's boat had people being eaten. Remember the boats were together.
Yes.
Yeah. People had died between the 2.
Yes.
So they'd run out of human by 1st of February. By February 6th, with nobody dead to gnaw on, the men had to make a desperate decision. There's 4 of them. Do we shoot somebody to eat them?
Oh, jeez.
That's right. Now they were discussing that one of them should die so that the others could survive. The men would draw straws to determine who would be the one shot and eaten.
Oh, jeez.
The short straw would be pulled by Owen Coffin, the 18-year-old cousin of Captain Pollard.
You're making these names up. You've got Chase, No Joy, DeTwit, and the guy who's going to be killed to be eaten is called Coffin.
Yeah.
Owen Coffin.
I'm serious. Owen Coffin is the 18-year-old cousin of Captain Pollard and was on the vessel. While Pollard offered to be the one shot in his place, Coffin is reported to have said, "No, I like my lot as well as any other." The men would again draw straws to decide who would shoot Coffin, with Coffin's friend Charles Ramsdell drawing the short straw.
His last name is going to be Pistol or something.
No, but it was his friend.
Oh, okay.
Ramsdell would shoot Coffin, and the 3 remaining men on the boat would feast on his remains. Just 5 days later...
Did you have to say feast?
Yeah, did you have to?
I did, yeah.
Feast is...
Like, do I have to use my favorite word again? But, bro, that's icky.
The whole thing's icky. That's the point.
It's icky tales.
Oh, icky tales. Just 5 days later, another of the men would die, leaving just Pollard and Ramsdell left on the whaleboat. So you've got 3 men on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Hendrick's guys are all dead. Chase's boat has 3. Pollard's boat has 2.
Yep.
The nightmare ends. On Chase's whaleboat, things were grim. More so than they'd been after eating their friend. They had again run out of food by the 15th of February and were staring down the barrel of having to decide what to do. Thankfully for them, on the 18th of February, off the coast of Chile, they spotted a British vessel named the Indian. Made for it, were spotted, and were finally rescued. It had been 89 days since the sinking of the Essex.
Wow.
And this was the first of them to be saved. For Pollard and Ramsdell, things were even worse. By the 23rd of February, the men only had the bones of their crewmates left, and they were sucking the marrow out of them after smashing them on the deck of the boat.
Oh.
It had been 93 days since the Essex sank, and they were losing their minds. Almost within sight of the South American coast, the men were spotted by another whaling vessel, the Dolphin. But they were so dissociative that they didn't even notice the vessel pull alongside, and when they finally saw their rescuers, became so terrified they started stuffing their crewmates' bones into their pockets. They would continue sucking on the bones when on the Dolphin.
That would be a weird sight. You just pick these guys up and they're just sucking on human bones.
Shoving bones into their pockets.
Skull and jaw bones in their pocket. Oh, yeah. That'd be terrifying, really, wouldn't it?
Yes. It would take about a week or 2 before they came back to their senses under medical care.
That's weird.
Chase and the other 2 survivors on his boats would inform their rescuers of the 3 remaining men on Henderson Island, and a rescue mission was made for them. They were found on April 5th of 1821, alive and well, not even having to eat their friends, making a total of 8 survivors, 7 eaten, and 5 dying without being chewed on.
7 eaten.
7 men were eaten between the 2 whaleboats.
Yes.
3 whaleboats.
Wow.
After this voyage...
So the 3 just managed to live off the island?
Yeah, they just managed to hunt birds and eat eggs and grass and stuff.
Now that there was only 3 of them and not 20.
Yeah, so they managed to stay completely well on the island.
Yep.
After this voyage, you might forgive the men for wanting to be landlubbers for the rest of their lives. However, all of them would go on the sea again within months. On arrival in Nantucket, the men received a surprisingly warm welcome. As it turns out, people kind of understood that cannibalism was a sad reality of shipwrecking at the time. Captain Pollard would have 2 voyages after the Essex, both ending in shipwreck, giving him a reputation as a Jonah.
A what?
A Jonah.
What does that mean?
As in like Jonah and the whale.
Oh, okay.
Bad luck on a. He would never sail again, reportedly locking himself in his room every night and fasting in memory of his crewmates on the Essex. He would also get a less than warm welcome from the mother of Owen Coffin, as he had sworn to her that he would protect her son at sea. He ended up eating him.
I thought you were about to say he ended up eating her.
No. Owen Chase.
Hey, at least he could tell her that a piece of him is always with him.
Oh, nah, that's grotty. Icky.
That's
icky.
There'll always be a piece of your son with me.
Oh, dude. Cut it.
And it's his jawbone.
Cut it.
He's probably still got the bone stuffed in his pocket.
Owen Chase would write a book on the disaster called Narrative of the Most Extraordinary and Distressing Shipwreck of the Whale Ship Essex, which would eventually become one of the inspirations for Herman Melville's Moby Dick.
That is a title.
It's a long title. Books back then seemed to have titles that were like at least 12 words.
Yeah.
He would have a successful career on the high seas, eventually owning his own whaling ship. He would, however, be haunted by the events on the Essex, suffering headaches and nightmares for the rest of his life. Later in his life, he would begin hiding food in his attic and would eventually be institutionalized. Of the remaining 6 survivors, only 1 would die at sea, with the rest living out their lives and dying of natural causes. The end.
Distressing. That's what I can say about that story.
Yeah. What a voyage. How badly did it turn out?
Oh, that's...
Are you researching it, Sean?
Yeah, I've been deep diving to keeping track
deep
of all the
diving, nice pun. We can look at other stories of similar thing like the Everest disaster and stuff like that, and it's kind of their own fault.
Yeah.
Can't necessarily say it was their own fault. They got rammed by a whale. And
they were doing something that was completely normal for the time.
Normal at the time. Frowned upon now.
Yeah.
Frowned upon, but part and parcel of the era.
Yeah. But again, this situation was forced upon them.
Yeah.
It wasn't...
apparently very common in sailing in these times. Like, you would get shipwrecked and just have to eat someone. Like,
the will to live, when you're talking survival concepts, the will to live is the strongest thing that you need to maintain. And that shows a great example of the sheer will to survive.
Well, they did talk about one of the guys on the boat had just lost the will to live and died.
Yeah.
While researching this, I found reference to a book that was like the rules of the sea at the time, and they talk about cannibalism in extreme situations. So like people talked about it openly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it end of the chapter entitled "Icky Stuff"?
Things you shouldn't do quickly. Things you shouldn't do.
Parentheses. Icky. Close parentheses.
Things that make you go.
Things that make you go, oh, stop, please don't. Oh, gross.
Yeah, no, that's weird.
I think the
Things
most
that make you say no.
And like you said, if they just went to the island where they thought cannibals were, there's probably lots of food and stuff they could do.
They would have been totally fine, would have been rescued. Yeah.
Would they have been rescued though? Like, that would have been...
Wouldn't have needed to be rescued. It was an inhabited French island. Like,
was it? It was inhabited at the time. You did say it was inhabited. Yeah.
The Marquesas Islands are like part of the French colonies.
Yeah. Okay.
They just heard there was cannibals there.
Yeah.
Well, they talk about like the HMS Bounty. Descendants of that were living like hundreds of years later on the islands that they escaped to.
Yeah.
That was the mutiny ship, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just go to an island and be fine. Like, yeah. Anyway, I think the most haunting bit is when they had to decide to shoot someone.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
and then do it.
And it sounds like the kid was just like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Just kill me. Like, yeah, haunting. Not the happiest of times.
Like, you've got to go through with shooting one of your friends, and then like you're probably that hungry, you just start eating them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure they didn't have a fire. Are they just eating raw?
They were cooking on flat plates.
Okay.
Yeah. But still, like,
not great.
You have to cut up your friend and then put him on, like, you have to put Owen steaks on, like,
So they'd already buried 2 guys at sea first. So as the custom dictated at the time, they sew them into their clothes and then bury them at sea. So they'd already chucked 2 guys overboard before they'd come to the conclusion that it wasn't just like first person dies,
better eat him.
They buried 2 guys at sea first before they were like, okay, it's been a month.
Yeah.
We have no food.
Yeah, it was a month before they got to Henderson Island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was the 18th of December or 20th of December.
They weren't actually on Ducie Island. They were actually on Henderson Island. They thought they were on Ducie Island. And they were actually very close to the island where the survivors of the HMS Bounty mutiny were. They were 120 miles away, where they would have been fine because there was people there.
Europeans too. So like they would have just shown up and been like, oh, you're European? Cool. Let's all help each other. Yeah.
Ooh.
And then for them to all just go back to sea within months.
Now, do you think this could happen again? Like in the sense of, because I just looked over to your little Lego model, trying to colonize Mars. Do you think they're going to be in a situation where something similar could happen where they've run out of food and they might have to start eating people on a colony on Mars?
Maybe.
Boots on the moon, man. That's all that matters. Boots on the moon.
Boots on the moon.
I know. I looked at that and
maybe.
went, I could see it kind of like repeating itself in that situation.
You would hope they'd cut communication with Earth before they did that, but yeah, maybe. Anyway, on a cheerier note,
Thanks
hit
for
up
listening.
at Cheeky Tales Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Where we will be posting.
There will be some
Sea Shepherd.
images that are not related to
posting a
eating
link
people.
to. Is it Sea Shepherd?
Sea
Is
Shepherd,
that the
yeah.
organisation?
Please support Sea Shepherd because, and feel free to get the beep ready, but Cheeky Tales says, f*** whaling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so we will have a post urging you to go and check out Sea Shepherd. They obviously do a lot more than whaling, as we learnt earlier on. And we will have supplemental images that will kind of give you an idea of what's going on here. We do that every episode. Aside from
Then
that,
where can you find that, boy?
What?
Did you mention it?
I did mention that, at Cheeky Tales Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Doesn't hurt to say it again.
And please feel free, share us with your friends. Subscribe on your podcast app of choice so you get it straight to your ear holes every fortnight. And give us a share because honestly, podcasts grow by word of mouth. We can put this out there anywhere on the web, which we don't do, but we should. But the best way to share it is you telling your mates to have a listen, which you have done, Sean, and we saw the massive spike after you did that.
Backstory, listeners. I was on a long road trip with some friends of mine from work, and I was driving the 12-seater bus, and we had pretty much gotten pretty jack of all forms of music at this point, driving back from Sydney. I'm like, does anyone want to listen to a podcast? They're like, yeah. I'm like, how about we listen to a podcast that I'm on? They're like, all right, context. I'm like, well, it's a stories podcast, so how about we listen to someone's? They're like, yeah, sounds good.
There was only one listen on our
I initially started with
analytics.
The Ned Kelly episode, and I turned it off and they went, boo. I said, do you really want to listen to me on the stereo? I can just tell you the story. How about we listen to one that I didn't do? So we did Hatton Garden.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The 1912 Olympics, and a few great episodes, and everybody got right into it. And funnily enough, the greatest faux pas of, I said the date wrong, the year
1904.
It's 1904 Olympics.
1904. Okay. I'm off script.
It's fine.
I'm a giggly, silly boy.
Not that episode you
I
weren't.
might have done the beer reviews too early, and here I am. Anyway, but yeah, they did that classic film faux pas. When the podcast finished, I'm driving the bus, and then they clapped. Everybody got
Good
right
to
into
know.
it. And
Good
then
to know.
And then
First applause.
yeah, and a few of the members went back. A few of the guys on the bus went back and listened to different episodes and commented that I am referenced in virtually every single episode of this
pretty much.
podcast.
We did get a nice comment from someone that was like, hey, my mate Sean got me onto this. Keep it up. I was like, thanks, man.
There we go.
Anyway, thank you for that example of exactly what I'm talking about. Please share us. Thank you, Sean. Good to have you back producing us.
I do enjoy it. Do we have to talk about my microphone situation?
No, you do have a sock over your microphone.
Yes.
Sean was a poppy boy, so we gave him a makeshift pop filter. Yeah, get a photo of that. We'll put it on.
Just looks so phallic when I try to take a photo of it.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We will see you in a fortnight's time. Good night.
Good night.
Sweet dreams.
Little bit. Picture yourself on a vessel at sea in 1820.
I'm sick.
You've been out whaling for over a year, and it hasn't been an easy voyage.
Scum.
You were almost sunk in the first 2 days of the voyage.
Serves you
Spent
right.
an agonizing 5 weeks just to get around Cape Horn. Dealt with depleted whaling grounds and almost died in a fire on the Galapagos Islands.
You deserve it.
You have a year left in the voyage, but for once, things are looking up. You and your whaling buddies are finally chasing a group of sperm whales in the Pacific Ocean west of South America.
Ah, yes, those sperm whales.
Good old sperm whales.
Good old sperm whales.
All right.
All right. Little bit.
You and your whale.
You and your
You and your butt. You and your butt whaling buddies.
Shit.
You and your whaling butt buddies. You and the butt whalers. Ooh. Butt whalers assemble.
You and your butt can go and get whaled.
The day my butt went ocean. You and your
Just wailing for my butts.
whale on your butt.
Mm-hmm.
You and your
But
whaling
on
buddies
whalers.
are finally chasing a group of sperm whales in the
But-
Pacific Ocean west of South America.
But Marley and the Whalers.
One of your crewmates is repairing a boat on the deck of your mothership. All of a sudden, he sees a sperm whale heading straight for the port side of the ship.
Of the mothership.
What happened next and the events that unfolded afterwards? Oh, crap, I lost my spot.
God! After all that, we managed to make it to... That could have been the greatest intro in Cheeky Tales history.
Moby Dick and the butt whales.
Of me and John shouting at you about butt whales, and then you lost your spot.
All right.
Little
I'll just
bit.
start the sentence again. It's fine.
If you don't little bit that,
Moby Dick and the
It might become the
butt
actual
whalers.
intro.
Moby Dick and the butt whalers.
It might become the actual intro.
People have no idea what's going on.
Ooh.
Okay, I might make that a little bit at the end.
Please.
Yeah, please redo the whole intro.
The whole intro.
Well, you
Yes.
have to.
Okay.
Without Sean yelling.
The whole truth and nothing but
All
the
right.
truth.
Okay, I'll redo the whole intro. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
I was quiet.
And then we'll do the other one as a little bit.
I can control myself, thank you.
Little bit.
Little bit.